We start with breaking news from France, where a court in Paris has found the leader of the far-right National Rally Party, Marine Le Pen, guilty of embezzlement of European Union funds. As part of her sentence, she's banned from seeking public office for 5 years with immediate effect. Polls have shown Le Pen to be front-runner for the next presidential election, expected in 2027. She was one of 25 defendants, including other high-ranking National Rally Party members, accused of using European Parliament funds to pay their National Party staff. Straight to our correspondent, Lisa Louis, who is at the Paris court where the trial is being held. Welcome, Lisa. Bring us up to date.
Well, as you said, Marine Le Pen, the leader, the candidate of the far-right National Rally, she was found guilty of embezzlement of EU funds directly and as an accomplice. The judge said that while Marine Le Pen was not the one setting up the system, she seemed to be quite central with determination and authority, as the judge said. And that's why the judge decided to condemn Marine Le Pen to 5 years of ineligibility. That means she can't stand as a candidate in any elections with immediate effect. Also a 4-year prison sentence, 2 of which suspended and the other 2 with an electronic bracelet at home. And she will also have to pay a fine of 100,000 euros. Mind you, as soon as it became clear that any sentence would kick in with immediate effect, Marine Le Pen left the courtroom. She ran out of the courthouse, away from the journalists who were chasing after her for a reaction. She was visibly upset. This is a huge blow to her and to the party.
And how will that ban on running for public office affect her National Rally Party, which has been seeing its support increase?
Well, as we just heard, she's the front runner, actually, in polls looking ahead to 2027, the next presidential elections here in France. Mind you, within 2 years, a lot can still happen in French politics. But still, she was the one candidate of this party. Now the party seems to get their head around what to do next. There doesn't seem to be a plan in place, at least not that we know of. In advance of this verdict, we've only heard that everybody was very calm and they didn't expect any sentence to kick in immediately. And now they should be quite surprised, actually, for this to happen. They need to think about who they will put forward for the next elections. And this sentence actually also means that Marine Le Pen will not be able to run in any other elections than the presidential elections. That would include parliamentary elections. The French Parliament can still be dissolved over the coming months. There's speculation about that. The government doesn't have a majority, so it's a very unstable situation. When it comes to the presidential elections, it might be that Jordan Bardella, he's the most obvious candidate right after Marine Le Pen. He's the current president of the party, very young though, under 30 years. He's very popular with voters, but some members of the party say he doesn't have what it takes to be a presidential candidate. Running for candidate as a president as a candidate is a very tough job, and you need to have knowledge, experience, depth, as they say, and not everybody believes he could do it.
Thank you for that, Lisa. Lisa Louis in Paris. We'll go now to Brussels and get European reaction from our correspondent, Jack Parrock. Welcome, Jack. What are you hearing from EU officials?
Well, it's interesting to just pick up on what Lisa was saying there about Jordan Bardella, who's the leader of the Rassemblement National Party, and he's now a sitting member of the European Parliament here in Brussels and in Strasbourg. So the questions about what this would mean for the leadership of France's far right are going to really change how European politics works. Marine Le Pen, for many, many years now, has been the figurehead of the French far right, a serious challenger. And there are a lot of questions about whether that movement, which was also grown in the European Parliament, was really bred. There was a platform for Marine Le Pen herself as a member of the European Parliament for what all of these embezzlement charges relate to. There's a question whether Jordan Bardella has managed to build himself enough of a platform to really be a challenger in presidential elections, as we've seen Marine Le Pen manage to do herself. The question now is, what does this mean more broadly for European politics? Macron, the French president, is at the end of his second term. So there's a sort of vacuum there with his party that was built in order to sort of lead him to the presidential leadership. And what that will mean more broadly. Obviously, the details of this verdict are going to be poured over. We know that Marine Le Pen is banned from running in those 2027 elections. What will happen politically in France and what that means more broadly for the rest of Europe as well, when Europe is trying to come together, try and find some unity together to try and rearm, to try and find economic competitiveness, with the vacuum of Donald Trump and his leadership in the United States sort of pulling away from that. This trial actually has quite a big effect on a lot of those issues.
And this isn't, sadly, the first such case involving the embezzlement or misuse of EU funds. Give us an idea of the scale of this problem, Jack.
Yeah, it's been a big problem. It's been a perennial headache for the European Parliament, and specifically related to some of these prominent far-right leaders and MEPs. We saw it with Nigel Farage. He was forced to have his wages docked back in 2018. He also used his seat in the European Parliament as a platform to push for the Brexit campaign, the UK, which did eventually leave the European Union, and therefore all the MEPs left. We know that from investigations that in 2023 investigation found that between 2019 and 2022, a total of 108 members of the European Parliament from across the bloc were forced to pay back €2 million in total for funds that were taken illegally or not in the right way. It seems that Marine Le Pen, and this verdict sort of confirms this, that what she was doing and the other 8 French MEPs was much worse than sort of tinkering the books. This is an embezzlement trial for which she is convicted of. They were essentially, what they're accused of doing is paying people like drivers or security guards as parliamentary assistants and sort of raising their level of their job so that they could do French national political work, where the funds that were meant to be used are meant to be used for European parliamentary work. And that's what she's been convicted of, and the thing that's going to, by the looks of things, remove her for 5 years from French domestic politics.
Thanks for that, Jack. Our correspondent Jack Parrock in Brussels.